This episode is provided by Thomas Allgaier and Frennis, based on the most relevant LinkedIn posts about MarTech from calendar weeks 4 and 5. Frennis is a B2B market research company, helping enterprises gain the market, customer, and competitive insights needed to drive growth and success.
Welcome back to another deep dive. Today, we're really getting under the hood of, well, the engine of modern business, marketing technology. We've been combing through LinkedIn from late January and early February to find the signals that, actually matter.
And I have to say, looking at the sources we have, the whole vibe feels different. For so long, MarTech felt like this frantic shopping spree. It was all about buying the next shiny tool and just hoping for magic.
Yeah, swiping the corporate card.
Exactly. But now it feels like the bill has finally come due.
That's a perfect way to put it. We're seeing this big shift away from what you could call accumulation, where more tools meant you were winning to an era of system-level clarity.
System-level clarity, I like that.
People are waking up to the fact that just adding another logo to your MarTech slide doesn't solve a business problem. In fact, a lot of the time, it just creates a new one.
Right. Feels like this clash of civilizations. You have these messy legacy stacks on one side, and on the other, you have these new, agentic AI models knocking on the door, and they're demanding a level of data hygiene that most companies just don't have.
They really don't. And that brings us perfectly to our first big theme, which we're calling the Great Cleanup.
The Great Cleanup. I love it. The party's over. Time to sweep the floor.
Well, the more is better philosophy is officially dead. Companies are just drowning in software, and they're finally starting to audit for value, not just for coverage.
And that distinction is huge. Let's make this real, though. Noah Mannion shared a story that, honestly, it made my jaw drop. He was auditing a stack that had ballooned to 19 different tools.
19. Just think about that for a second.
It's a nightmare. And we're not talking about little Chrome extensions here, are we?
No. These are the heavy hitters. Salesforce, Marketo, 6sense, enterprise-grade stuff. But the problem wasn't the quality of the tools. It was the redundancy. When you look closer, he found they had 3 separate tools doing lead scoring.
Wait, 3 tools scoring the same leads?
3 of them.
So let me guess, none of them agreed on who was a good prospect.
You've got it. It's precisely the problem. Imagine being a sales rep. One dashboard says hot prospect, another says cold. Marketing's looking at a third. You get total misalignment.
It's just paralysis by analysis.
It is. And on top of that, they had 2 conflicting lead routing tools literally fighting over where to send the data. So the cleanup wasn't just optional. He's now in the process of taking that stack from 19 tools down to 9.
So cutting it in half.
Pretty much. And yeah, the CFO is probably happy about the licensing fees, but the real win is operational. When your tools are fighting, your teams start fighting.
That makes so much sense. It reminds me of a post from Barry Rodriguez.
Mm-hmm.
He uses this great phrase for what startups accumulate. He called it digital dust.
Digital dust. That's good.
Isn't it? It's all those tools you bought 3 years ago for one campaign, used for a week, and then forgot about. But it's still there. Siphoning data, costing money.
Rodriguez basically says the mandate for 2026 is to clear that clutter because more rarely means faster. It just means more friction.
But it's hard to let go, isn't it? It's that classic sunk cost fallacy. We spent 6 months implementing this thing. We can't just turn it off now.
That's the trap. But Franz Reimersma offered a really sharp framework for this. He talks about optimizing for cache versus optimizing for coverage.
Okay, cache versus coverage. Break that down for us.
So coverage is fear-based. It's buying a tool for every single hypothetical edge case. What if a customer does this one thing on a Tuesday? Reimersma actually calls it stalking.
Stalking. That's a strong word.
It is, but it fits, You're trying to track everything, just in case. He says you should stop building for the what if and start building for cache.
Which means revenue, margin, and risk.
Exactly. If a tool isn't driving one of those 3 things, it's just noise.
I love that clarity. But how do you stop the bloat from just creeping back in? Because we've all seen it happen.
You need rules, constraints.
Well.
Yogita Wadhwa had some great practical advice here. She suggested a system of record rule.
How's that work?
Simple. Any new tool you want to deploy must integrate bidirectionally with your CRM or your main system of record.
So if the data can't flow back and forth automatically, it's a no-go.
Exactly. No more data islands.
That's smart. And she also had a one-in, one-out rule, right?
She did. A classic for a reason.
Yeah.
You want a new tool, you have to retire an old one. It forces you to actually prioritize.
There's another tension here, though. Billy Bohan-Chenique described it as the laboratory versus the factory.
This is such a crucial mental model for right now. The factory is your revenue engine, your core CRM, your billing. It needs to be stable. It needs to be boring.
It just has to work.
Every single day. But the laboratory is where you test things, where you break things, where you experiment with new AI agents. The problem is, most companies are trying to run both in the same place.
They're running chemical experiments on the assembly line.
Exactly. And then they wonder why it breaks. You need to separate them, keep the factory clean, and only move things from the lab to the factory when they're proven.
That transition from lab to factory leads us perfectly into our next scheme. We can't talk about 2026 without talking about AI. But the conversation feels different now. It's moved to, what are they calling it? Agentic AI.
It's the buzzword of the moment, but this one has substance. We're moving from AI as a chatbot you talk to AI as an agent that does things. It operates within your systems.
So instead of me copying and pasting data into a chat window, the AI is actually inside the software, pulling the levers itself.
That's it. Spencer Tahill talked about this with the new plugins for Claude Cowork. The AI isn't working around your systems anymore. It's working through them. It has hands, basically.
Okay, but if everyone has access to these agents, where's the competitive advantage? If the AI is a commodity, how do you win?
That is the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
And Tahill argues the moat, your advantage, isn't the AI model itself anymore. The moat is context.
Context, as in our internal data.
Your proprietary data, CRM history, call recordings, your sales methodology. If you feed that context to the agent, it becomes a specialized employee that knows your business inside and out. Without it, it's just a generic, helpful stranger.
That has huge implications for the software vendors. I saw Subra Krishnan used a pretty dramatic term for it, the sysapocalypse.
A bit dramatic, but the logic is sound. Think about it. Traditional marketing clouds, your HubSpots, your Adobes, they sell you a user interface for humans to click.
Right, the drag and drop builders, the dashboards.
But Christian's point is, if an AI agent can just read the data from the database and execute the action, what happens to that big, expensive middle layer?
It becomes less valuable, maybe even optional.
Or at least a lot less valuable. If no human needs to click the buttons, why are you paying for the fancy UI? The value shifts entirely to the data infrastructure, the plumbing underneath.
Wow. But, okay, let's be real. We've been hearing about AI taking over for a while. Is it actually happening?
It is, but slowly. And the bottleneck isn't the tech, it's us. Liza Adams shared a telling statistic. Only 21% of organizations have actually redesigned their workflows for AI.
Only 21%.
Yep. So most companies are just bolting AI onto old, broken processes. It's like having an AI teammate, but they're sitting in a separate chat window, totally disconnected from the actual work.
Like buying a high-speed train and trying to run it on old, rusty tracks.
That's a perfect analogy. The value only unlocks when you change how you work.
Justin Norris shared a personal example of this I found fascinating. He uses an AI chief of staff.
I love this example. It's not about booking meetings or filing expenses. He uses it for strategic orientation.
So what does that look like in practice?
He just pastes in his messy notes, his goals, his worries, all of it. And then he uses the AI as a sounding board. He asks it to prioritize his focus, point out conflicting goals, give feedback on team dynamics.
So it's a thinking partner.
Exactly. He's redesigned his own planning process around the tools capability. That's a real workflow redesign.
I really like that. But let's go back to that context idea. If AI needs our data, where does that data actually live? This brings us to the CDP, the Customer Data Platform. It feels like that war is heating up again.
It is, and the market is bifurcating, splitting in two. Real Longacre broke this down really well. On one side, you have the platformized CDPs.
So the big all-in-one suites, Salesforce, Adobe.
Correct. They want to hold your data inside their proprietary cloud. On the other side, you have these rising agentic or composable CDPs. They're warehouse native.
Warehouse native.
Yeah.
Meaning the data stays in my own database, like Snowflake.
Exactly. You own the data. The CDP is just a thin layer on top that helps you activate it. Longacre thinks this is going to become the customer operating system for all those AI agents we were just talking about.
But the big players aren't just giving up. I saw Lucas Lunau called Salesforce's Data 360 Schrodinger's platform.
Leftism.
Yeah, yeah, as in the cat. It's both a CDP and not a CDP at the same time. Salesforce is trying to blur the lines, be everything to everyone.
Which usually leads back to bloat, doesn't it?
It often does.
But is anyone actually doing this warehouse native thing at a huge scale?
Oh, yeah. Juan Mateo de Monasterio shared a case study from Mercado Libre. Think Amazon of Latin America. The scale is immense.
How immense are we talking?
415 million users.
Wow.
And they process 180,000 different audience segments every single day.
You cannot do that with a spreadsheet.
Well, they used to try, but they moved to a composable CDP. The data stays in their warehouse, and a lightweight layer on top recalculates those audiences automatically. No more CSV upload.
Oh, the dream. And for anyone listening trying to figure this out, Subramanian Sundararaman gave a great rule of thumb. He said, store everything in your data warehouse. That's your attic.
Okay.
But only put actionable, governed data in the CDP.
Keep the junk in the attic, put the fine china in the dining room.
That is the perfect analogy. Don't clog up your activation engine with data you're not going to use.
So, we've cleaned up the stack, we've deployed the AI, we've sorted the data, but none of this runs itself. Which brings us to our last theme, marketing operations. It really feels like MarTech is having its main character moment.
It is. MarTech is moving from the back room to the boardroom. The conversation is shifting from technical support to strategic leadership.
Enrico Ferrari had some advice for new CMOs that sounded, well, backwards at first. He said, fix the team before you fix the stack.
It sounds counterintuitive, right? A new leader wants to come in and buy a new tool to show they're making an impact.
Yeah, look, I bought this fancy AI thing. We're innovating.
Exactly. But Ferrari's point is, if the team can't operate the tech, the best software in the world is useless. It's like giving a Formula One car to someone who only knows how to ride a bike.
Claire Robinson even mapped out the career path for MarTech now. It goes from builder to owner to architect and finally to leader.
And that leader part is about bridging what John Miller calls the knowing-doing gap.
The knowing-doing gap.
Miller points out that we've known for 15 years that B2B buying isn't a straight line. We've known it's messy. But our tools forced us to use these rigid, linear funnels.
Our software was dumber than we were.
Basically, yes. And he argues we're only now getting the AI-native platforms that can finally operationalize the complexity we've known about for a decade. The MarTech leader's job is to close that gap.
That's all very strategic, but I want to end on something that brings it back down to earth. Stephanie M. Wandel shared a story that every single HubSpot user will feel in their bones. HubSpot renamed lists to segments.
Oh, I saw the fallout from that online.
It's so small, right? A list is a segment. But she called the change emotionally violent.
Laughs. Emotionally violent is a bit much, but I get it. Think of the muscle memory. You've spent 5 years clicking on lists. All your internal training docs say lists.
Right. Now every junior marketer is going to say, I don't see lists. It's a funny but real reminder that these tiny vendor changes can totally disrupt the factory.
It's a great point. At the end of the day, humans still have to push the buttons. And humans hate it when you move the cheese.
So if we pull this all together, what's the story? It's a massive cleanup, a shift to AI that actually does things, a war for the data's foundation, and the rise of the ops leader who has to manage it all.
I think it means the industry is maturing. The party of endless software buying is over. We're sobering up. We're stopping the frantic buying and starting the thoughtful building. It's harder work, but it's where the real value is.
If you enjoyed this episode, new episodes drop every 2 weeks. Also, check out our other editions on account-based marketing, field marketing, channel marketing, AI, in B2B marketing, go-to-market, and social selling.
Thanks for listening. There's a lot to digest there, but I think the path forward is clearer than it's been in a long time.
Thanks, everyone, and don't forget to subscribe.